Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another Flash Masters live stream. Now, in today's live stream, we are joined by the one and only Mr. Ben Connolly from Australia. Thank you so much for joining us, Ben, at what is an idiotic time of the morning.
Oh, look, it's my pleasure.
Funnily enough, I'm going to tell everyone, Ben messaged me like a little over 4 hours ago, which was like Ben's night time, to go, what time are we starting tomorrow? And I was like, that's literally in 4 hours, Ben, go to bed.
Yeah. So Ben went to bed and Monster's still in bed.
Oh, yeah. And for those who don't know, Monster is Ben's gorgeous dog. If you saw the email I sent out a few days ago, Monster was featured very proudly in Ben's photograph. And often he does like to come and join the streams at some point, but I've got a feeling 5 a.m. is a little too early.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see a fat little bulldog this morning. Maybe towards the end, but we'll see how we go.
But first of all, thank you for joining us. Today we have a huge amount of images that you're going to be critiquing. I'm just going to take all the information in. But before we start that, Ben, it's really nice to see your face. And I think this might be the last time that we'll sort of be speaking in this format and formality before you arrive in the UK.
I know. I'm a little bit excited about that as well. It's November's rolling around really quickly, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. Like everything's all organised. Almost everything's all organised.
Yep.
So we've got a venue. We've got like accommodation stuff sorted out. There's some people over in the UK that haven't been the easiest people on the planet to deal with, but anyway, and I'm definitely not some people in the UK's favourite Australian at this point, but I'm really looking forward to it, and I think it's going to be a whirlwind, and it's going to be 5 days that is just going to be heaps of fun. So. Yeah.
It really is. So for those of you who are listening who haven't seen or are new to Flashmasters, Ben is coming over to the UK for a workshop, which is going to last 5 days here in beautiful Cheshire and at Crewe Hall, I believe. I know it's Crewe Hall.
Yeah.
A beautiful historic building here in Cheshire, which I did do a little bit of research, was built in 1636. I know, 1636. I'm not sure if they've got things that old in the Americas or Australia.
No.
No, so 1636, and I know that the rooms that we are using are from the original part of the building as well. So yes, we're going to be here with all of the history and in a beautiful, beautiful old building here. Ben, is there anything you'd like to tell sort of Flashmasters members who might not know anything about your workshop, sort of what's going on?
Seems like you know more about it than what I do. I don't even know what room, what's going. So,
sorry, it's 5 a.m. and I'm like giving you a pop quiz.
Yeah, I'm like, what room is it in? So it's, wow, where do I start? There's so much that we've organised. We've got a bit of a group chat going for the people that are coming along. There is 11 so far that have fully confirmed, and there's space for 15, and I really love 15 because I've paid for 15. So yeah, I know. I thought, how many, they said to me, how many will be there? And I've gone, 15. And so I got charged for 15 people. So we need to find another 4. No. So there's 11 that are booked. I've got a whole lot of content and a whole lot of stuff that has got to go out to all those people before we even start. So there's going to be, I know homework sucks and being kiddos hate homework, but there's a little bit of homework for this before we actually start.
Ooh.
So, and it's kind of homework that and content that I haven't utilized before and I haven't put into anything before. But I want to make sure that in coming over here and like people are investing a lot of time, b a lot of money, and it's 40 something hours on a plane for me. So I want to make sure that just I want to make sure that everyone gets the most out of it,
Yeah.
and I can kind of get the most out of me as well for everyone else while we're there. So I've thought kind of long and hard about it, and that's why I've decided that we're going to try and everyone stay together, like in accommodation, sort of in rooms and stuff together. At a Purple Palace, which I've never stayed at, so I hope it's okay. If it's shit, I'm sorry. Um, so
Neil can
yeah,
bleep that bit.
yeah. Sorry, Neil. So we can all stay there. So once the days are done, we get more of an opportunity to hang out and sort of get to know each other as a group and that sort of stuff as well. Like, I don't know how well everyone knows each other over there. So it's just going to be kind of a whole range of new things and new people for me, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely amazing. And looking sort of the schedule that you've
Yeah.
put together as well, it seems that you cover pretty much everything you could ever need to know about running a sort of a wedding photography business through to, I'm sure there's a little bit on album sales and sort of like business mentality. It feels like you sort of really all encompassing sort of everything that you need to know to run a successful business. So I'm sure that everyone
Yeah.
who's booked on is going to get so much from it. And hopefully we can fill those last 4 spots, because I think it's just an amazing and incredible opportunity for everyone. And
Yeah.
being part of that little group chat that we've got going from the attendees, such an incredible group of people as well. So it's going to be really, really fun.
Yeah. I just yesterday, finally, after 3 years, I finally finished my full online program, which is, as far as I can see and as far as I've looked in a lot of different places, probably the most comprehensive online program in the world. And it's finally finished.
Wow.
So going through and just modernizing a little bit of that yesterday, I've kind of taken a few bits out of that and gone, "Do you know what? I'm going to add that into my 5 days, because it's everything that I've possibly learnt, all the mistakes I've made, all of the bad decisions, and everything over the last 20 years to get to now here." And there's a lot of stuff in there to save people from minor disasters.
Amazing. So
Yeah.
I
So
know you've been working on that an awful long time. And when Neil and I
yeah.
approached you to be an ambassador before, the world even knew the Flash Masters was a thing, we knew that you'd already put so many hours into it then. So yeah, it must be, I know this has been a labour of love and will be sort of covering absolutely everything. So congratulations on that.
Thank
In,
you.
in
Yeah.
terms of anyone who would like to book onto the workshop, or maybe sort of have more information on where they can get this sort of full guide as well, where's the best place for people to go? Oh, Neil's already put the link in the chat. Forget that. Although I'm sure people on YouTube won't see the chat, so if you could give us some extra information, Ben, that would be great.
So the online program hasn't been released yet. That hasn't been released to the public. That's going to go out to our database in Australia first. But I will, when I come over in November, I will bring a copy of that for everyone
Ooh.
that comes along as well. And if you share it, I'll have to find you.
That's a Brucey bonus
So
for everyone.
yeah, so that's not out yet, but the workshop, that's up on the website, which is www.bcphoto.com.au, and just click on the UK tab and it'll all pop up and it'll go, "Hi, come and see us in the UK." And yeah,
Excellent. Yeah,
there
I've
we
just
go.
added
It's
that
up on.
link there. Yeah, I was a little bit slow there, but I've got the link. It's up on the screen. So anyone who's looking to book on, the dates of the 20th to the 24th here in Cheshire, UK, and that is where you can find all the information that you will need. So, Ben, thank you so much again for joining
Yes.
us. It's now time to really get those brains
Thanks. See ya.
gone. Oh, brilliant.
Sorry, I'm the idiot Australian.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, idiot Australian, for joining us. Yeah, it's time to
No
now
problem.
to get those brain cells working, get your things in gear. And before we start this critique, I think it's always really important to say that obviously you're here. You're someone who I know is very sort of experienced. It seems like you've been absolutely all over the world to every kind of conference that is going. I know that you've watched a lot of judging for different awards and competitions as well. So coming in with a huge amount of experience. But I will say, Ben's just one man. And where his opinions, I'm sure, will be great today, and you'll learn a lot as well. For those of you who are having your images critiqued as well, you don't have to agree with everything. And obviously, it's all important that we stick to our own style, because otherwise, we'll all merge into the same person. And that would be really dull and boring.
And don't be scared. Like, I can honestly say to you that image critiques are one of the major things that have shaped my career and shaped where I shoot, how I think, and all that sort of stuff. Like, I have had images critiqued by so many different people, and when you hear image critique, it sounds daunting and it sounds like, oh my God, how is this going to work for me? Are they going to pull me apart? It's not that at all. Like, if you've got someone that knows what they're doing, who can give you some constructive feedback on how to make an already fantastic image better, then that's the beautiful thing about it. So it's, again, one of those things that has really changed my career and really helped me the most.
Amazing. And I will
But
also
don't
say
be
is,
scared.
don't be scared at all. And I will say as well, we are proper throwing you under the bus today. You haven't seen a single of these images.
Yeah, I know. You were going to send me a link, but nothing turned up. So I'm like, this will be good.
So we have Ben's initial sort of thoughts on each one. They are all live, unfiltered. This is exactly what he thinks straight out. So yes, just before we start that, I'm just going to check if there's anything in the comments that needs joining. Chuck has said, can I request that Ben only uses Australian slang words to describe the issues with my images, so I won't cry if I won't understand. I'm not very. I'm sure you taught us some interesting slang last time, but yeah, I probably will forget already.
If I went full Aussie, I don't reckon anyone would understand what I was talking about.
Probably not, but it might make some harsh truths easier to hear. No,
Sometimes
I'm sure.
I don't even know. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Well, I'm sure today you do. And yeah, before I bring up the first image as well, thank you to everyone who has submitted images. We know that, it can be quite a daunting thing to submit, to have your images critiqued, especially sort of within this online format as well. But I'm sure that we're all going to learn a heap by looking at these images, and learning about what's done well and what can be improved. So yes, I'm really, really looking forward to it. So hopefully, I'm going to... Oh, go on.
Was that Chuck? Sorry, was that Chuck that sent that message through?
Chuck
Yeah,
McFluff,
righto.
yeah.
Chuck, you're a pelican. You're a pelican, Chuck.
I know Neil's going to be like, how many things am I going to have to bleep out today? And we're doing very, very well so far.
No, pelican's not a bad thing at all.
Oh, is it not?
No, pelican's like a bird. Pelican's like Australian slang. It's all right.
I like it. Okay, so hopefully I'm going to press a button and then an image will miraculously appear. Ta-da!
Right.
Oh, that looks like I could be taken in Australia.
Everyone watching must think that I'm just an idiot sitting here going, what's that? Cool. Okay.
The tension is building.
Is this where I say something?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, cool. All right. So I love it. I reckon it's very cool. The first thing that caught my eye kind of, it's a good thing and a bad thing. Like the first probably two things actually that caught my eye was the duck, or is it a swan?
I'm
I'm not
thinking maybe like a goose or like a
a
duck.
goose,
Yeah, it's
a
too small for
goose.
us. Yeah, maybe we'll go with
Yeah,
that.
a flaming goose. So the first thing that caught my eye was the goose, as opposed to the girl. Um, and then the second thing that caught my eye was the little tower in the background. So for me, I probably would have tried to take both of those things out, unless the goose had some relevance to whatever story that the photographer was trying to portray. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes,
So if that was her goose and we're down at the beach, is at the beach where, well, I don't know where that is, but we're down somewhere and that's her goose, then happy days. But if it was a random goose that decided to make a cameo in the shot, for me, I probably would have tried to take that out, as well as the little tower in the background, because the background is so it's so plain, which is a good thing. Like the background is just so plain and it doesn't take anything away from what's going in the foreground. But because those two things are dark and they're black within that beautiful yellow background,
yeah,
that makes it stand out. Does that make sense?
yeah. I think so. Oh, sorry, I'm revealing the next image. It's all
Oh,
going
ooh,
wrong
now you're giving
already.
me the next one. Yeah.
I
So
have.
and so something else that I'm coming across. Can we have that? Can we bring that up again? Is that all right?
Of course we can.
Cool. All right. Whoever did this, great job, because shooting at that time of the day, shooting straight into the sun, is a bit mental.
It
And
really is.
to get what you've got, super good job. Like just for starters, if you want to make that and polish that and make it just that little bit better, just think about the goose and the other thing I said, but what I'm seeing so much of is that the direction of the person, the model, the whatever, the subject in the photo, the direction is kind of becoming less and less throughout the world I see. And in some cases that's good, in some cases it's bad, because think of it, if you've got a photo of someone, it doesn't matter how amazing the background is in that photo, and it doesn't matter where it is or anything like that. If that person doesn't like how they look in that photo, then they're not really going to like that photo, and they're not really going to go, oh, look, this is amazing. Look at this amazing photo of me, because they're not 100% with how they look. So I'm not saying that she may have felt that or anything like that, but what I am saying is if we were to direct her a little bit better in terms of, pushing her hip away a little bit and leaning her over a little bit and arching the back, as well as that swish of the dress, it's going to make her look more feminine, and it's going to make her body shape look different. And it's going to make her look at the photo and go, wow, look at my shape, look how beautiful hourglass kind of figure I've got, and it's going to make her love that photo more.
Perfect.
Does that land for? I hope that lands for everyone, because we can't all reply, but just bear that in mind, like, because I'm a big, because I've spent so many hours and so many thousands of dollars in training myself in directing and posing and that sort of stuff. And I know that posing is a bit of a dirty word, like people don't like to hear that. But that is one thing that I see lacking in so many photos throughout the world. It's the direction of the person just lets it down a little bit. And if that direction was better, that particular photo would be just smashing it, and you'd be killing it. So just bear that in mind.
Yeah.
That's probably all I've got, I think, for this one. But and maybe just the on the looking at the photo on the left hand side where her dress, that bit of her dress is,
Yeah.
there's a bit of the yellow kind of toning that's taken out of that. Like the yellow is not coming through like it is throughout the right hand side of it. And I'd maybe just kind of add just a little bit of yellow back in there if it wasn't there, if the flash was taking that out, just to kind of make the whole thing, just to match the continuity of the yellow on the dress all the way through. Yeah.
Fantastic. Excellent. I know we're
Good
absolutely
job to the
throwing you
person,
under
though.
here. Yes, excellent. That was a fantastic job. I think what we've decided, unless the person who took the image is sort of in the chat and in the stream, obviously they're welcome to sort of give any sort of thoughts or feedback as well whilst receiving it. Otherwise, we're going to keep these without sort of the names and sort of disclosing who took them. But yeah, fantastic job on that image there as well. There was something else I was going to say, but I have forgotten. So therefore, we will go on to the next image. I do know we
Happens
have...
to me all the time.
I know. We do have quite a few images to get through, so we might only be able to show one or two from each photographer. Oh, I know. I was going to say, you're talking about posing and things like that, and I know you've been on a lot of workshops and conferences, etc. Can you think off the top of your head of a person or something that you've read or anything that's really improved your posing skills and how you pose sort of people in front of the camera? Anything you think and go, oh, that I learned a lot there.
At the risk of it sounding like a sales pitch, yes, it was a 5-day workshop that I did. Actually, two of them, and that's the two that I did earlier on in my career really reinforced that point and what I do now. So yeah, which is kind of why I've gone down that same track.
Amazing. Oh, I'm even more excited now because I know I'm someone as well who's like, I think back in the earlier days of my photography, I spent a bit more time on the posing, probably because it kind of distracted me from my lighting or because I was a bit scared about that. So I thought, I'll just pose them. And I've probably got a little bit more wishy-washy and less thoughtful on that now, and my mind's a bit more on light. So I think actually, I'm excited to see about, what you deliver on the posing as well, because I do think that I personally could help with that as well. So yes, we're going to move on to our next image now.
Cool.
No, we're not. It's the wrong one.
There's that goose again.
Oh, this is, by the same photographer. I think there's the same model as well, but a very different look.
I wish that I could. I want to zoom in on this to see the girl, but
Yeah,
I know that I can't.
I don't think I can either. At the risk of breaking it, I shall not attempt.
Yeah, no, don't. We could be drive. So that it looks like her hand down there with a little bit of leg. Okay. People watching must, if I'm on screen, guys, I'm so sorry. I must look like the
You're
biggest
not.
the biggest galah.
Galah. No, you don't at
Galah.
all. I've got you off.
That's
It's
for
just
Chuck.
the image.
That's for Chuck. All right, cool. Okay, so I love the image, and I love how she's positioned between the two kind of up and down sort of pillars or the wall or whatever that is that's there. That makes her stand out, which I like. And there's obviously a mirror there because we can see the chandelier that's in the foreground in the mirror. So good job for catching all of that. Again, for me, if we were sitting in a say WPPI, right? If we were sitting at WPPI and thank you, cool.
Neil's doing this. I've got no clue.
Good on you, Neil. All right.
He's a good egg.
So he is. So if we were sitting at WPPI,
Yep.
somewhere like that, and this was a live print judging, the one of the biggest things that I'd be looking at is pose. So does she have a reason to be there? And is that reason for being there conveyed in a way that looks natural, that looks completely real, that looks believable? And in this case, yes. So she does look like she's got a reason to be there. There's a few little things with the posing that I wish that I could change, and with the handling of the shadows and stuff, especially like on her to begin with. So if we focus on her, you can see that her hand on her hip, the shadow from where the light is coming from, which is obviously from up and to the right, the shadow of her chest is cutting off her arm.
Yeah.
And like I can see that, and that was one of the things I could see right from the start. I'm like, and looking at it from a distance, I'm like, is her arm hiding behind her somewhere, or is it cut off? Now, see how, as if you look at that for, say, just stare at that particular point, like just stare at her for 15, 20 seconds. If that arm starts looking weird, then we need to change something.
Yes.
And that's one thing throughout my career, that whenever I'm taking photos, editing photos or whatever, if I think something might be a bit weird, I'll just sit there and look at it like a total mental person for like 15, 20 seconds. And if after that 15, 20 seconds it's not weird and I'm like, that's fine, then normally we're good. But if it's weird and it starts looking weird and feeling weird, then okay, I've done something wrong here, or I need to adjust something, or I need to light it better, or I need to do whatever. So in this case, her arm and the shadow is cutting her arm off. For me, it looks a little bit weird. Where's her arm gone? There's one thing. I love the fact she's positioned in the middle. You've got the mirrors and that sort of stuff that reflect everything. I'm kind of curious as to where she is, like what else is hidden in all the black. So for me, I'd love to see maybe not quite as much contrast in the background, like keep the contrast you've got in the subject, but a little less contrast in the background so that we can see a little bit more detail of what's actually there. If you're trying to hide something, like if there's something there that, you're trying to hide by keeping it black, good job. You're a winner. You've done it. And awesome, great photo. I'm sure that she loves it. If there's nothing there that you're trying to hide, then I'd try to maybe just bring up the exposure a little bit and pull out a bit of contrast out of the background so that you can kind of see the detail and stuff that's in there. Because again, if we were sitting doing a live print judging or something like that, because there's no details in those blacks, or not, there may not be, like, I'm not looking at this on a calibrated screen or anything like that, but because for me here it feels like the black is just black. I kind of want to see more, and I want to see the detail of what's there, because it looks like a pretty cool space. Like there might be some awesome wallpaper, some other awesome mirrors, or some crazy furniture or something sitting around there. So if it's there, I want to see it.
Oh, I think we have the photographer here. So yeah, I think so. So thank you for your feedback, Ben. I sincerely appreciate you taking the time and giving me honest feedback. I will definitely take everything you said to heart and put it to work. Both images are taken during a no softbox challenge. Oh, hard.
Ooh,
I gave myself, so only spheres and gels were used. Posing is what I struggle with and I'm working hard on. And yeah, I was hiding a group of models hanging out by a piano. and said that there are windows in the background. So yeah, clearly working with quite a difficult sort of scene there, and not necessarily sort of a quiet area that's shooting. I personally as well would say, or just because I'm learning loads already as well, because I know, like I said, you have seen a lot of sort of print judging, and within those, you do go into quite a lot of detail and thought. But I am someone who's terrible personally at taking a photo, going, okay, I haven't blown any highlights, and I'm like, I work so quickly that I don't stop to critique myself, and Neil tells me off for this all the time. And I think it's something that many of us who really want to reach that next level and reach that, that kind of level where we can be winning print comps at WPPI, or really reaching the top of our game. And I do think one of the biggest things that we need to be doing is that stopping and looking, and really looking before moving on and going, is this the best that it can be? Because it's so, especially, well, it depends. If you're shooting a wedding, you don't necessarily always have that time to do so. But yeah, I know I'm someone who panics a lot when shooting, or I kind of want to get to the next thing and I don't slow down enough. And necessarily, I would have even picked out that arm as well, personally. I would have gone, oh, that's lovely. Next. So, for me, I'm finding that very helpful too. So I do hope the photographer did too. Right. Okay. Sorry.
Great job on both of those images to that person. You have displayed a pretty solid foundation of knowing what you're doing in both of those photos. It's, as with all of this, it's little refinements, and it's the little 1% that takes it from a silver to a gold. Like it's that refinement. It's that little tiny polish that just takes it up to the next level. And when I say that, I literally mean that. It could be a hand in the wrong spot. It could be a shadow in the wrong spot. It could be a highlight that is a little bit too blown out that stops it from going up. It's literally. Now, I know that if you're not entering competitions and you're just giving these to clients and that sort of stuff, happy days. You've smashed two. That girl probably loves, or the models, the people, the subjects probably love both of those photos, and you've killed it. Good job. If you want to take it higher, then there's just that little bit of polishing. And so many people around the world think that polishing is done in Photoshop. But I affectionately call it the Photoshop glitter roll.
We've heard about this glitter roll.
And I'm sorry, Neil, you may have to bleep this, but you cannot polish a turd. You have to roll it in glitter. Now, I'm not saying that those two photos were turds. They were not. Those two photos were gems, and congratulations to that person for doing that. Now that you've got those gems, this is where you look at it on the back of the camera and you look over the subject, you look at what you've done, you think back to your education and you go, how can I make this better? Or is this as good as what this is going to get? Look at the shadows, look at the direction, look at the posing, look at the lighting, look at everything in your camera before you go and move on to the next place or roll that into Photoshop. Because if you spotted and you knew to look for that shadow that's cutting that arm off, you would go, oh, hang on, I'm just going to quickly retake that. And you might just move the light a little bit, or you might add another light on the other side just to stop that. And then once you've done that, you go, cool. And then you take that gem into Photoshop and you polish that. And then that takes you up just that next little bit.
Amazing. I'm learning so much already, and I can definitely see now when we put the images up, there's that pause as well. You're picking up on things that I would never even see myself, and but then to be fair, I'm not your sort of standard, Ben, so yeah, I'm finding this invaluable already. Okay,
yes,
so
you are, Helen.
No, I'm not. And I haven't sat around watching print competitions. I wouldn't have a bleeding clue. I'm just someone who works dead quick and just prays for the best.
I get on Flashmasters on your page where people are posting photos, and sorry, Neil, I'm like, holy shit! Like some of these people, some of the crew over there or around the world are just posting stuff that I'm like, you guys are weapons. Like this is just next level stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like, it is. It
Thank you
is. Like,
so much. And as Neil said, yeah, it is. In terms of critique and shooting, I do know, and I have obviously watched Neil work a lot, and he will stop, pick the camera to his eye, and look. And whenever, yeah, when we've done a few weddings together, he's like, but have you got it, Helen? Because I'm like, nailed it, la la la. And he's like, no, look, do you have it? Because you've had times I come home and go, ah. Or like, yeah, I've got to take this into Photoshop and add some glitter, or oh, I missed that, or yeah, I do
yeah.
need to slow down. So yeah, I don't think what you're saying there, I think, is going to resonate with a lot of people. So
And
yes,
there's nothing worse than like, and I've done this 1,000 times. There's nothing worse than getting home, dropping it on the computer, and it's out of focus, or
oh, I've done that before.
you've missed focus, or the one you've got, she's blinked or he's blinked or something like that right at the wrong time. Like when you think you've got that killer shot, don't just look at it through the viewfinder. Zoom, like we have the ability now with digital cameras to zoom in on the back. If anyone learnt on film, then it's a completely different world. But being able to see that little JPEG, like being able to see your photo instantly on the back, means that there's no excuse for you not to zoom in and check that thing. Because if you've got a killer, there's nothing worse than getting home and there's a blink, or there's like eyes having an each way bet, or there's like you've missed a focus point or something like that. Like there is nothing worse than that. And sometimes that's not salvageable.
Yeah, I've lost what I thought were some killer images. One of them a crew hall, actually. Beautiful old building at night. Couple walking down the drive, had them lit. I was like, nailed it. Got home, I was like, I
No, I
didn't
didn't.
nail it. Because the one image that I had the best moment between them both looking and laughing was not in focus. And yeah, all I
Yep.
needed to do was zoom in, and I didn't. And I got home and I was like, oh. Thankfully, the ones that I took of them stood before I had them walking, my safe ones, were fine. But I had this amazing moment between them and it was out of focus and I didn't check. I was like, nope, nailed it. So yeah, it happens to all of us. Right, we've got loads to get on with. So yeah,
Yes.
sorry, Ben.
Yep.
I'm gonna get us both moving. So apologies for that. I should have closed that. Okay, next image up. Thoughts. Extra points if you know who took this one. You might need to use some Australian words in there. Hint, hint.
Extra points if I knew who took it.
No, I'm sure I could tell you who it is. I've put his name up on the screen.
Only slangs. All right. Cool. I I love this. I think it's really, really cool. Um, there's a couple of things that I guess stand out for me in terms of um, how do I put it? In terms that kind of not they bug me a little bit in the nicest possible way. So the first one is the lens choice, or the distortion that's going on through that lens choice. So it's obviously pretty massive wide angle lens in order to get the couple, the combi, the sky, and a bit of the background and stuff in there as well. So there's I get using that bigger lens in order to do that. But in doing that, what that's doing is kind of distorting things a little bit, potentially maybe a little bit too far. And another thing that kind of goes along with that is I'm wiggling my mouse around on my screen, but no one can see that. So it's not helping anyone. Sorry. I'm an idiot. So I love the sky, love the concept. The execution's really good. Like, it completely demonstrates that this person has all the skills that they need to take an amazing photo. Knowing that and knowing and seeing that you have those skills, I want you to take those skills further, because I can see that you've got them. We just need to refine them a little bit more. And the couple of things is the lens choice. Now, and another thing that goes along with the lens choice is the piece of sky that's over here in the right-hand side.
Yeah.
And for me, that piece of sky on the right-hand side there is potentially the brightest part of the frame. So whenever you take a photo, your eye is naturally going to go to the brightest part of the frame that has the most contrast. Like, naturally, that's where your eye is going to go no matter what. If you're ever unsure of that, and if you're ever unsure as to whether you think, hey, my subject is the brightest part of the frame with the most amount of contrast, get your photo in Photoshop, turn it upside down, put your head down, look down at the ground for a couple of seconds, and then look back up at your photo upside down.
Oh.
And wherever your eye goes with that photo upside down is the brightest part of the frame. Because when it's upside down, you mess your brain up and it's like, I don't know what's going on here. And so naturally, it's just going to go to the point that sticks out the most. So that's why when this photo...
amazing hint. Sorry there, Ben. I'm like, oh, I've never thought of that. Right. Brilliant.
So that's why when that photo came up, you would have seen me do that or that, because I'm like kind of half going upside down to see it.
I'm still taking you off screen. What were you doing?
It's not because I was doing this, like I'm going, like, it's not because I got a crick in the neck. But that's what I was doing. So if you get that photo, turn it upside down, wherever your eye goes is essentially the brightest part and the most contrasting part of the photo. And we want to avoid that if possible. So one thing that's going to avoid that in this situation is by cropping that part of the frame out. Because if you're leaving that part of the frame in, if you look at this photo, this part of the last, I guess, quarter of this frame on the right-hand side really adds nothing at all to it. And if we crop that out, like I'm not saying crop it now. What I'm saying is, before you took this, think about seeing that piece of sky in the shot and think about it being the brightest part. And if it's going to be the brightest part and take away from your subject, we've got a couple of choices. We can crop it out, we can cover it up, or we can just not shoot it at all. So what would elevate this photo is if the person was to maybe change lenses, or if it's a prime lens and it's a prime wide angle, definitely change lenses. If it's like a Canon, say 15 to 35 or something like that, step back all the way, zoom it in all the way to 35, crop out this part, the right-hand side part of the frame that's not adding anything, zooming it into 35 is going to fix up this distortion a little bit in the actual combi and the couple, because it's not, that distortion happens because it's not directly in the center of the frame. So whenever it's off to one side, it's going to be distorted. So if the person did that, you're still going to get, if you go back far enough, the same frame with the full combi and the sky and everything, but you're just not going to get this brightness that takes away from this couple that are in the combi. So that's the first thing that poked out, that bright sky.
Yeah.
The only other thing, well, there's a couple of little things that kind of poke out, and the first one is because he's kissing her on the temple,
Yeah.
and because of where the photographer is positioned, you're seeing this great big white piece of his arm, and you're seeing this great big side piece of him. If the photographer had stepped a meter to the right, because it looks like you're on a road and it looks like you could have, if you'd stepped a meter to the right and zoomed in, you would have got more of him and less of this. So you would have got more of him from the front. You would have got less of the sky and everything on the right hand side, and it would have been, you would have seen more of the couple, because again, even if you had have used the same focal length, having stepped to the right, it would have put the combi a little bit more in the center of the frame if you had have kept it, if you had have just stepped sideways, and a little bit less distortion and that sort of stuff. Again, there's some little posing techniques for stuff like this, for these guys in the car that I can share, that will, elevate this photo, because as you can see, because of the roof line of the combi, you've cut a bit of his head off. I know that's hard, like that's difficult to manage, but the thing with photographers is that we tend to get fixed in the position that we're in. So I can see from this shot that potentially it's been taken from about standing height.
Yeah.
So it's been taken from, photographers gone, hey, this is cool, we'll do this, and he's just standing at that height. If you had have squatted down a little bit, then if you squat down and just take your level down a little bit, you're going to see a little bit more of that guy's head. But then when they're in the car, you get them to lean over forward and you get them to tilt the top of their head towards you, which then shows you more of their actual side profile and more of their head, as opposed to more from underneath their jawline shooting up their nose a little bit, which is kind of what's happening here. So if they were to slide their bum as far forward in the seat as they can and lean over the dash of the car, and I know that's difficult because you've got a flash sitting in there, or you've got some kind of light sitting there on the dashboard or underneath. It looks like it's on the dashboard, and all that means is turning the intensity of that flash down, even using a constant light.
Yeah.
Like you guys are so incredible over there at using flash and that sort of stuff, but don't discount a constant light too, because you can get an incredible shot with a constant light that is soft and beautiful and get the exact same effect without having to sit a flash there and dial it down to almost nothing. So
Amazing.
just bear that in mind. There's a few little things that we can adjust, like even the little highlights on the highlights on the roof line of the combi, where what do you call them, the sunshade things, I think maybe, or it may just be just overflow from the flash, because you can see potentially their shadow is casting and you're seeing black above them, but you're seeing the two little highlights on either side of them. that's something that we can darken right down because they stand out a little bit because they're quite bright as well.
Yeah.
So, like, if this was this Chuck's?
It was.
Yep. Can I just read this? Great advice, contrast, focal point, really. Need to start slowing down. Actually, take a look. Yeah. So, Chuck, dude, you've just kind of given yourself the answer that I wanted to give you. Because, man, like, that is a wicked photo. You smashed it. And now that I know that you've got the skills to do shit like that, I'm not going to go easy on you now because I know you can do it, man. So all I'm saying is I've got 2 words of advice for everyone. And this is blanket across the board. Stop and breathe.
Yep. I need that a lot.
Yeah. Because like, I know if there's anyone else out there that is ADHD like Helen and I,
Yeah.
stopping and breathing is kind of second to running around like a chicken with your head cut off. So if you can take a photo, or before you take the photo, get your settings, get everything right, light, set the lighting up, make sure it's good, make sure your location is good, get your settings exactly perfect, then pose them and direct them, make sure that their bodies look great. And when you're photographing, this is something that was taught to me by Jerry Gionis. If you're photographing someone, photograph them through the lens of a loved one. And what I mean by that is if you're photographing a bride, photograph her like her husband would want to see her.
Oh.
Photograph a groom through the eyes of how his bride would want to see him. Because if you do that, you're going to direct them and pose them and light them in such a way that is going to amplify their strengths and hide their weaknesses. Because you're photographing through the eyes of someone who loves them and cares for them that can never see anything bad about them. So if you think about that with every photo you take, and when you're directing them, when you're going through your process of taking a photo, and for anyone that's coming to my workshop, I'm going to give you a process. Before you just click the shutter on any photo, I'm going to give you a process to go through. And when you get to that step, it's looking through the whole viewfinder and looking at the whole thing and stopping and breathing before you actually click the shutter. Because I want you to get 1 or 2 photos that are incredible instead of 15 to 20 that are just average.
Oh, you are speaking to me right now.
Because there's nothing, and we're going off track a little bit, but there's nothing worse than getting home from a wedding and having to go through 5,000 photos. Like if you're doing that, then you need to come in November because there's shit going wrong that we need to fix. But getting back on it, if you stop and you breathe and you click that shutter very deliberately, and when you do click it, you know that you photograph those people like their loved ones would see them and would want to see them. In doing that, you know you've brought the best out of them. And with that photo of Chuck's, if he was to stop and breathe and think about that couple and go, how do I bring out the best in them? How do I make his arm not so bright and not so big? How do I make his jawline potentially look a little bit better by not turning his face up and over so much so that it's shooting up from here? Just stopping and thinking about that before you go bang, 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 and then going, oh crap! Like,
I feel seen.
That will change everything. That will change the landscape of what you shoot, how many you shoot, and how long you spend in front of the computer afterwards. Chuck, man, good job. That was awesome. Just remember that you can move, and we as photographers forget that we can go up, down, sideways. Like, you kind of get a shot in your head, and we remain there fixed because that's what we've got. That's what we see. But just remember that you can move. And it doesn't always need to be your subject that you have to move to bring out their best. It could be just you.
Wow. Oh, honestly, I feel seen. Yeah, if you could see how many images I took on a 90-minute pre-wedding shoot last night. Oh, dear Lord. I came home and I was like, oh, Helen, you've just pressed the shutter too many times. Stop and think. Yeah, I'm not very good at that. So I will say this is absolute gold. I think what we'll do here as well is we're going to say goodbye to our YouTube followers now, so we don't have to bleep out any more words, although I think we've both done very, very well. I think we have. Everyone who has joined us in the Facebook group live, this is going to continue. We do have, I think, from about 11 photographers, 30 images. We're probably not going to see all 30, but we're going to make sure we see at least one from each photographer, so bear with us. Those of you who have joined us and is watching on YouTube, thank you so, so much. If you'd like to watch the rest of this critique session, then you're able to do so by joining us in the Flashmasters community. So just go to flashmasters.co, and if you sign up there, everything that we've done through the entire of Flashmasters will be there ready and waiting for you to view as soon as you become a member. So thank you so much for joining, and we'll hope we see you in the next live stream.